welcome back to my channel. And in this series, we're going to be going over Uranus in the houses, okay? Uranus in the houses, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 7th house. So having Uranus in your 7th house, okay? And before we get into that, I just have to remind you to check out my music. If you enjoyed the music in the beginning of this video, definitely check it out, okay? That's my new single, so I definitely would appreciate that. And going back to Uranus in the 7th house, all right? So let's just dissect what Uranus is and what the 7th house is, all right? Uranus in astrology is a very complex planet, but Uranus is the ruler of our friends, our acquaintances, our associates, you know, our network, okay? This is society at large. And there are other planets that deal with our social lives as well too, and our you know, friends, such as, you know, Venus and Mercury, but Uranus is different, okay? With Venus is more about our one-to-one relationships, okay? Kind of like the yin and yang energy, our romantic partners, our best friends. But with Uranus could be simply joining a club. Let's say you join a science club with someone else, and you guys are both into the same things, and because of that, you guys associate with each other. Now, you guys might not be best friends, but you do have something in common, and it's an association. So that's Uranus. Uranus doesn't have to be as deep and as intimate as Venus, okay? This is why it's, you know, friends of all acquaintances and associates. And Mercury, for another example, could also deal with associates and acquaintances. It deals with like your neighbors and people you just communicate on the everyday basis. Okay, but with Uranus, what differentiates Uranus from Mercury is Uranus takes you outside of the box, outside of your community. So with Mercury, this could be like your siblings, people you live with or were raised with, people in your community, in your neighborhood. Uranus could be an associate, like, you know, a follower or a friend online, you know, a follower from one of your social media sites, you know, which could be anyone. It could be someone, you know, from anywhere, from any country, you know, probably someone you would have never met, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, the internet, which is also ruled by Uranus, okay? But yes, that is Uranus. Uranus takes you outside of the box. It has no limits. It's society at large. And speaking of social media following, social media is ruled by Uranus. Now, they say that we're in the Aquarius age, and Uranus rules Aquarius, so it's no surprise to me that social media is such a big thing, okay? The internet, social media, all of that is ruled by Uranus, okay? Social media is how we network at large. This is how we connect with people in such a large basis, okay? Our followers on Instagram, Twitter, you know, even back in the days when they used to do pen pals, you know, this is all networking, okay, at large, like Uranus. And also, when we talk about society and connecting and connections, you know, this is all done through communication, okay? Uranus is a communication planet, okay? Just like all the air planets and air signs. So, you know, with Uranus, when we talk about communication, we're also talking about information, okay? This is how we communicate information. We're talking about the mind. So, you know, internet is not only dealing with, you know, social media, but it's also dealing with information, how we just Google things up and find out, you know, any type of information we want to know. You know, Uranus is a planet of information because it deals with the mind, okay? And Mercury deals with the mind too, but Mercury deals with more of the basic mind. So this is how we retain information, how we learn, how we have all our skills, you know, how we use our mind. But Uranus takes it to a next level, and it's all about not just learning and mental processing and retaining information, communicating information, but it's also about how you take all that information and think outside the box, okay? So Uranus is all about thinking outside the box. It's all about rebellious thinking, innovative thinking, okay? Creating a new formula. So Mercury would be like learning the normal formulas, you know, going to school, learning the formulas. Uranus would be like, okay, I've learned the formulas, but now how do we create a new formula to get this answer? That's inventing, that's innovation. So Uranus is your genius mind. It's like the higher mind, the genius mind, because you're thinking outside the box. And wherever Uranus is in your chart, it's going to represent where you're a genius, where you innovate, where you create new ideas, okay? Also, Uranus rules technology. Okay, if you look at technology, technology is how we advance society, okay? Technology is how we think outside the box to create new inventions, okay? Uranus, again, the planet of inventing, innovation, new ideas, okay? Technology are new ideas of how we advance the world, okay? So, very Uranus. And Uranus is also connected to electricity, okay? So electricity, if you look at most of technology, our highest advanced technology, they're all electrical. And electricity is that Uranus energy. It's how we advance, society, how we advance our ideas and our thoughts. It represents that type of energy. And also electricity is also very shocking. Like I said, with Uranus deals with thinking outside the box. And a lot of times when we come up with new ideas, new formulas, different ways, it could be controversial. It could be going against the grain. It could be shocking. So Uranus is all about that shock factor. And if you think of electricity, it is shocking, okay? So definitely Uranus. Uranus is electrical. It's your super genius mind. It's thinking outside the box. And it's society at large. And then you have the 7th house, okay? The 7th house is the house ruled by Libra. This is about our partnerships, our one-to-one relationships, okay? Like I talked about with Venus, because Venus rules Libra, which rules the 7th house. So this deals with our one-to-one relationships, our partners, our romantic partners, our business partners, our best friends. And this is also our mentality of how we balance things out, okay? Because usually we balance ourselves out with other people. That's how we create a partnership. But it's larger than that. It's how we balance ideas in general, okay? How we have peace and balance with our minds and our mentality. How we find justice. So, yes, definitely the 7th house. So, with that being said, the first thing I can say about Uranus in the 7th house is this is a placement for unconventional relationships, okay? Having unconventional relationships, all right? And this could be anything, okay? This could be open relationships. This could be open relationships. This could be gender roles that are changed in relationships. So maybe our typical standard traditional roles that we play in our relationships are switched here. This could be having multiple partners, maybe a 3-way relationship. Or it could just be a very odd pairing. Maybe, both of you guys are super different and no one would have expected you guys to be together. I mean, having an unconventional relationship can manifest in many ways, okay? People can look at it like interracial dating. They can look at that as unconventional. They could be LGBT relationships. Whatever is not considered the standard. Which, like I said today in our Aquarius age, unconventional is kind of the standard. But typically with Uranus in 7th house, this typically deals with unconventional relationships, pairings that can be odd pairings, could be very different, very unique, and not the standard. Something about your relationship isn't the standard, okay? Whether it be an, open relationship, multiple partners, or whether it be a very odd pairing, okay, whether the roles in the relationships, the traditional roles we're used to, are switched, whatever it is, there's something very unconventional about these relationships. And it makes for a very unique relationship. So Uranus and 7th house people, a lot of times their pairings, whether it be their best friends, their partners, whatever it is, it's going to be something unique. It's going to kind of shock you maybe surprise you, like, wow, I wouldn't think that these two people would be together, or wow, I never knew people did relationships like that, Also, with Uranus in the 7th house, it's also manifests chaotic relationships, okay? Relationships that deal with lots of changes, okay? Breakups, things kind of not working, there's lots of breakups because, with Uranus in 7th house, Uranus is not an attached energy. Yes, it loves associates and friends because it loves to work with other people and unite their minds with other people and people that are alike with the same interests. However, it's never stuck with one person or with one type of pairing. So Uranus in seventh house people, these could be people who break up a lot, who move on. You know, they're used to chaotic relationships and relationships that go through many changes. You know, you could have had a best friend and then all of a sudden abrupt change happens. Maybe you move and you couldn't be friends with them anymore. Maybe they stopped being friends with you out of nowhere. Just a lot of your relationships and your pairings can be very chaotic. You know, just so many changes. You're friends with this person one day and then you're not. This was your best partner at one point, and then all of a sudden something happens and you guys are completely, you know, not attached to each other at all anymore. You know, there's just so many changes that happens, and it can be very chaotic because you can go through so many different partnerships and relationships with Uranus in the seventh house because there's constant changes and breakups happening. You know, like I said, Uranus is a very chaotic energy. So the natural peace and pairing and attachment that you get in the seventh house with Uranus here, yes, it causes lots of attachment because it's a social energy, but it causes a lot of detachment on top of that. So these people could go through lots of different partnerships and just lots of abrupt breakups. You know, people that were really your best friends all of a sudden aren't anymore for whatever reason, and you got to find a new friend. Okay, you got to re-innovate. You got to innovate. You got to, you know, find a new type of person to relate and connect to. Okay, so many changes in your pairings. Be aware of that because it's not going to be a smooth road with Uranus in the seventh house, with your friendships and the people you connect to, even your relationships. Okay, there's gonna be lots of abrupt changes, and it's part of your innovation. It's part of you inventing new ways of pairing with people and understanding that you can't be so attached to one standard way or this like, oh, we're just going to be friends forever. This is not going to happen with Uranus in the seventh house. It's going to cause you to change and be innovative, you know, with your friendships and partnerships. And to be innovative, you can't stay with the same person and have the same type of friendship all the time. You know, you got to meet different people. You know, you got to break up with people and find new other people to pair up with. So lots of movement in that way. And it can be chaotic, okay? You could definitely, with Uranus 7th house, get used to this energy, but in the beginning, it could be kind of sad, like, wow, I can never keep a friend, you know, things are always changing out of nowhere, and it's like I have to create new friends again or get into a new relationship again because of all the chaos that happens. So it could get very chaotic here with Uranus in the 7th house and all these breakups, okay, and new partnerships. Also with Uranus in the 7th house, this is a placement of having lots of relationships, okay? Lots of relationships because Uranus is a networker. It connects with society at large. It's about your associates, your friends, your acquaintances. So it's already a networking energy. This is great for making friends and stuff like that. So you're gonna meet lots of people. And then you're in the house, the 7th house of relationships. So it's a social house. So very social people, you know, you can make lots of friends, lots of connections, lots of partnerships with having Uranus in the 7th house. And also be careful because, you know, the 7th house is not just best friends, but it's also like relationships. So this can go into the point of like almost being a player, like having multiple partners and getting kind of messy like that, okay? So like piggybacking to the chaotic relationships, if you're creating multiple romantic partners, that could be very messy, okay? So Uranus in 7th house, these people get around, okay? This is people who meet lots of people, they have lots of connections. Social life is pretty poppin', but be careful because this is the 7th house and these are partnerships. So we're talking about romantic partners and how messy and chaotic would it be for you to make multiple, you know, have multiple boyfriends or girlfriends, you know, having multiple relationships out of nowhere. You know, this can manifest a messy dating kind of life, okay, because you're dating mad people or you're having commitments with mad other people, and this is part of the chaos, okay, the chaoticness with Uranus in the 7th house, all right, because 7th house is very balanced and Uranus is very electrical and chaotic. So be careful being messy like that, getting around too much, all right? But this is definitely a social networker. This is definitely a networker. This is definitely a person who can just make lots of friends, okay? It doesn't have to be like get messy into like cheating and stuff like that. It definitely can, but it could just be that you're a great networker and you make lots of friends, make lots of connections, and you're very social. And this is definitely a placement for that. Also, you have innovative relationships, okay? A lot of your relationships can be innovative and inventive. Like I said, odd pairings, you know, people that you wouldn't see together that come together. Interracial relationships, that to me could be a manifestation of Uranus in the 7th house, you know, and then on top of that, causing lots of controversy. So, you know, how back in the day people would have issues. People had issues with many different relationships, but you know how back in the day people would have issues with like interracial relationships and how much controversy that would cause. But it was very innovative because it's a different way of you looking at relationships and what's possible, okay? It doesn't have to be the same standard. You know, things can be different. Even with LGBT relationships, okay? Not the standard in terms of gender roles and stuff like that. So with, you know, Uranus in the 7th house, it's very innovative when it comes to relationships. It's about new types of relationships, new types of pairing, not the typical standard relationship that we're used to seeing with this typical standard gender roles. You know, these are different pairings. And it's innovative because it helps us see relationships in a different light and understand that there are other ways of pairing up. You know, it's innovative, it's inventive, it's new, it's different. So Uranus in 7th house is definitely innovative relationships. Your relationships are always going to catch people's eye, who you're with. You know, it's always gonna, you know, catch someone's eye or be like, that's unique, that's different, you know. So definitely with Uranus in the 7th house. And you can really be educating people and teaching people that we can get along and come together in different ways, okay? It doesn't have to be the same way. You can open someone's eye into how we can connect as people. We don't have to all be the same, and we could be from different places and different parts, cultures of the world, and still come together. So definitely a Uranus in 7th house thing. Definitely innovative, unique relationships. With Uranus in the 7th house, this is a very intellectual placement as well too. People don't talk about that, but the 7th house is actually about how you balance your ideas together, okay? How you find justice, okay? How you you know, balance two sides of a spectrum and find a even middle. You know, that's how, you know, we balance things out, and it deals with our mind and how we balance ideas. You know, this is mental energy. 7th house is ruled by Libra. So you put Uranus here, which rules Aquarius, another mental planet energy. You know, these people are very smart, you know, intellectuals. A lot of these people like to connect to people who are also intellectual too. Uranus is 7th house people, a lot of their partnerships are going to be with other unique, smart people, people who have unique minds and lots of things to talk about, but lots of information and unique ideas, and it makes someone very smart, you know, very smart, very intellectual, very unique communicator, very mental. So definitely Uranus in 7th house is definitely an intellectual placement as well too, because like I said, Uranus is very about the mind, okay? Uranus rules the mind, the higher mind, thinking outside the box. And the 7th house deals with our mind in terms of balancing things, you know? So you put that together, you have someone who's very uniquely balanced, okay? Uses their mind in a unique, balanced way. And it makes them an intellectual, makes them very smart, and they like to connect to other people who are smart too. You know, Uranus in 7th house, they're going to be attracted to someone with a smart, unique mind, someone who can keep them up in a conversation, okay, about unique things, okay? So very intellectual, very smart. And yes, they're attracted to weird, unique people, okay? Uranus in 7th house are definitely going to be attracted to unique people, people who have unique hobbies, unique minds, unique way of thinking. Like I said, Uranus is a brainy energy. It deals with your higher mind, your genius mind. So you like to connect to other geniuses, other people who are smart, very intellectual, who are very unique. And another thing with this placement is that a lot of times you can turn your friends into lovers, into romantic interests, okay? So Uranus in the 7th house is a perfect placement for the scenario of we were friends first and then we became romantic partners, okay? Uranus is the planet of friends. So you're already a networker, you already meet lots of people, you connect with lots of people. And then with the 7th house being the house of balance and romance and, you know, your relationships and partners, you know, you turn these friendships into real romantic interests or partnerships, you know. So definitely a friends first, then turn them into lovers. You can turn your friends into lovers, you know, romantic interests. So, and it's also a good thing because you get to understand someone first. So definitely Uranus in 7th house thing, all right? So yes, that is Uranus in the 7th house, a very unique placement. Very smart, intellectual people. They connect with lots of people. And the great thing about this placement is it opens our minds about what is possible in terms of relationships, okay? This is the innovative relationship. This is the relationship that goes against the grain, you know. I'm going to date whoever I want. Or relationships where you never thought could be possible that happen. And this opens our mind to new ways of connecting with other people. So it's a very innovative placement for romance, partnerships, and what we think is possible. All right, very shocking, but be careful because there's a lot of chaos. You know, a lot of times you're attracted to all these unique relationship scenarios and people because you've had so many unique situations and chaotic relationships with your partnerships, okay? So you're kind of detached, okay? And you're innovative and you understand that things can change and things are unique and things are different. And that is Uranus in the 7th house. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you did, you could book a reading with me. I do astro readings as well as tarot. And you can email me and we could go forward with that. Also, check out my music videos. All of those will be in the link in the description box below. And I'll check you guys out on the next video.